At 67, I was shocked when my doctor told me I had the bone density of someone 20 years older. Me, the woman who had hiked mountains, gardened daily, and never had a major health issue in her life. How could my bones be deteriorating so rapidly? When I asked my doctor what was happening, his answer surprised me. It's not necessarily your age, Margaret. It's what's missing from your plate. What my doctor revealed next completely changed my understanding of aging. The truth is, after 65, our bodies silently develop critical nutritional gaps that accelerate aging in ways most of us never connect to our diet. These deficiencies don't just weaken our bones, they cloud our thinking, wrinkle our skin, drain our energy, and increase our risk of life-threatening conditions. Even more concerning, according to recent research from Harvard Medical School, nearly 80% of adults over 65 have at least 3 significant nutrient deficiencies, many completely undetected until serious damage has already occurred. In this video, I'm going to share 7 critical nutrition deficiencies that dramatically speed up aging after 65 based on the latest research and my personal journey back to vibrant health. We'll explore exactly how each deficiency affects your body, the subtle warning signs most doctors overlook, and the simple, practical fixes that can help reverse the damage before it's too late. I'm not going to bombard you with complicated supplements or expensive diet plans. Instead, I'll show you realistic, everyday approaches that have helped thousands of seniors like us reclaim their energy, mental sharpness, and physical resilience, sometimes within just weeks of making these changes. These are solutions I've personally used to transform my own health, and they're backed by decades of scientific research that most mainstream health providers simply aren't discussing with their patients. Stay with me until the end because I'm going to share one surprising nutrition deficiency that affects nearly 90% of adults over 65, a deficiency that's directly linked to accelerated brain aging, increased fall risk, and diminished immune function. Most doctors never test for this deficiency, and even fewer know the 3 simple food combinations that can help restore proper levels without expensive supplements. This information alone could be the difference between maintaining your independence into your 80s and 90s or facing a rapid decline that many mistakenly attribute to just getting old. Now, let's get started with the 7 nutrition deficiencies that could be aging you faster than your years. The first nutrition deficiency that dramatically accelerates aging after 65 is one you've probably heard of, but likely don't understand how profoundly it affects nearly every aspect of your body: vitamin D. When I first discovered my severe vitamin D deficiency at 67, I was shocked. I'd always been a gardener, spending hours outdoors. How could I possibly be deficient? What my doctor explained changed everything. After 65, our skin becomes up to 70% less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight. Even more concerning, vitamin D deficiency doesn't just affect our bones, it's directly linked to accelerated cognitive decline, weakened immunity, and even increased cancer risk. Consider the story of James, a 72-year-old retired engineer I met during my health journey. James prided himself on staying active, walking daily, and eating what he considered a balanced diet. Yet he noticed his muscles becoming increasingly weak and his balance deteriorating. Simple tasks like climbing stairs or carrying groceries became challenging. His doctor casually attributed these changes to normal aging, prescribing pain medication for his increasing discomfort. It wasn't until James specifically requested vitamin D testing that he discovered his levels were dangerously low at 11 nanograms per milliliter, less than a quarter of what's considered optimal. Within 3 months of proper supplementation, James regained significant strength and stability. I thought I was just getting old, he told me, but I was actually starving my muscles and bones of what they needed to function. Here's what most doctors don't tell you. Vitamin D isn't just a vitamin. It's a hormone that affects over 1,000 different genetic pathways in your body. When levels fall too low, the effects cascade throughout every system, from your brain to your immune system to your cardiovascular health. The solution isn't as simple as taking any vitamin D supplement or getting more sun. After 65, your body needs a precise approach. First, request a 25-hydroxy vitamin D blood test to determine your exact levels. Don't accept normal as an answer. Ask for the specific number and aim for 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter, which research shows is optimal for seniors. Second, if supplementing, choose vitamin D3, not D2, and take it with a meal containing healthy fats, which significantly improves absorption. Most importantly, pair it with vitamin K2, which ensures calcium goes to your bones instead of your arteries. Third, consider consuming more vitamin D-rich foods like wild-caught salmon, sardines, and egg yolks, alongside modest sun exposure without sunscreen on your arms and legs for 15 to 20 minutes several times a week when possible. This strategic approach to vitamin D not only protects your bones, but can actually help reverse many signs of premature aging throughout your entire body. The second critical deficiency that can dramatically accelerate aging after 65 is vitamin B12. This is perhaps the most misunderstood deficiency, yet potentially the most devastating to your quality of life. At 69, my friend Eleanor started experiencing unusual fatigue, occasional numbness in her hands, and moments of forgetfulness. Her doctor ran standard blood tests and pronounced everything normal for her age. The troubling symptoms continued to worsen until her daughter, a nurse practitioner, insisted on comprehensive B12 testing. The results were alarming. Despite having normal B12 levels on standard tests, her functional B12 levels were dangerously low. What most people don't realize is that after 65, up to 30% of us develop a condition called atrophic gastritis, which reduces stomach acid production and dramatically decreases our ability to absorb B12 from food. Even more concerning, many common medications taken by seniors, including acid reducers, metformin for diabetes, and certain blood pressure medications, further deplete B12 levels. The consequences of B12 deficiency are far-reaching and often misdiagnosed as normal aging or even early dementia. Without adequate B12, your nerve cells can't function properly, leading to numbness, balance problems, memory issues, and extreme fatigue. Over time, this deficiency can permanently damage your nervous system and brain. For Eleanor, addressing her B12 deficiency led to dramatic improvements within just a few weeks. Her energy returned, the numbness subsided, and her thinking became clearer. "I was beginning to think I was in the early stages of dementia," she told me. "I never imagined it could be something as simple as a vitamin deficiency." Here's how to protect yourself. First, if you're over 65, ask for a methylmalonic acid, MMA, test along with homocysteine levels when checking B12 status. These provide a much more accurate picture of your functional B12 levels than standard tests. Second, consider a high-quality B12 supplement in the methylcobalamin form, which is better absorbed by seniors. Sublingual, under the tongue, versions bypass the digestive system entirely, making them ideal for those with absorption issues. Third, increase consumption of B12-rich foods like eggs, salmon, lean beef, Greek yogurt, and nutritional yeast. However, remember that food sources alone may not be sufficient if you have absorption issues common after 65. Don't mistake mental fogginess, balance problems, or unexplained fatigue for inevitable aging. These could be warning signs of a B12 deficiency that's relatively easy to correct when caught early. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward with our third critical deficiency. The third deficiency that dramatically accelerates aging after 65 is one that affects nearly 80% of older adults yet rarely gets discussed: magnesium. I call it the relaxation mineral because its absence creates tension throughout your entire body, from your muscles to your brain to your cardiovascular system. When I turned 70, I started experiencing increasing muscle cramps, especially at night. My sleep became restless, my heart occasionally felt like it was fluttering, and my stress levels seemed to rise despite no major changes in my life. When I mentioned these symptoms to my doctor, he suggested they were age-appropriate concerns and offered prescription medications for each symptom. Fortunately, my nutritionist suggested testing my magnesium levels first. The results showed I was significantly deficient, like the majority of older adults. What I didn't realize was that many factors had depleted my magnesium stores: the diuretic I took for mild high blood pressure, years of drinking coffee daily, and even the stress itself was depleting what little magnesium I had left. It was a vicious cycle. Consider Walter and Marie, both 74, who I met at a community health workshop. Walter struggled with stiffness, irregular heartbeats, and constipation. Marie experienced migraine headaches, anxiety that worsened with age, and difficulties falling asleep. Both were taking multiple medications to manage these symptoms. Within 2 months of properly restoring their magnesium levels, Walter's heart rhythm stabilized, his mobility improved, and his digestive issues resolved. Marie found her anxiety diminished, her sleep improved, and her migraines became less frequent and less severe. What makes magnesium so crucial is that it's required for over 300 biochemical reactions in your body. Without sufficient magnesium, your cells can't produce energy efficiently, your muscles can't relax properly, and your nervous system becomes hypersensitive. This creates a perfect storm for accelerated aging, affecting everything from your heart health to your cognitive function to your body's ability to handle stress. Here's what you need to know to protect yourself. First, standard blood tests rarely show magnesium deficiency because only 1% of your body's magnesium is in your bloodstream. Request a red blood cell magnesium test instead, which provides a much better picture of your actual status. Second, when choosing a supplement, select forms that are better absorbed by older adults, such as magnesium glycinate, malate, or taurate. Avoid magnesium oxide, which is poorly absorbed and often causes digestive discomfort. Third, increase consumption of magnesium-rich foods like dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, almonds, black beans, and dark chocolate, at least 70% cacao. A handful of pumpkin seeds daily provides nearly 40% of your magnesium needs. Finally, be aware that certain medications common among seniors, including proton pump inhibitors, diuretics, and some antibiotics, can severely deplete magnesium levels, making supplementation even more important. By restoring proper magnesium levels, many of my friends and I have experienced what feels like a reversal of aging: better sleep, improved mood, reduced muscle tension, and even more regular heart rhythms, all without additional medications. The fourth deficiency that dramatically accelerates aging after 65 is omega-3 fatty acids. This deficiency is particularly dangerous because it silently increases inflammation throughout your body, the very process that underlies nearly every major age-related disease from Alzheimer's to heart disease to arthritis. At 71, I began noticing increasing joint pain, dry eyes, and more trouble concentrating. My skin seemed to be aging more rapidly too, with increasing dryness and wrinkles. I assumed these were just inevitable signs of getting older until I learned about the critical role of omega-3 fatty acids in combating these exact symptoms. Margaret and Robert, a couple in their mid-70s who attended my senior nutrition group, had similar experiences. Margaret struggled with worsening arthritis pain despite trying multiple medications. Robert was concerned about his gradually declining memory and heart health. Both consumed what they considered a healthy American diet, low in saturated fat and including plenty of vegetables. What they didn't realize was that their diet, while seemingly healthy, was severely deficient in omega-3 fatty acids while being excessively high in omega-6 fatty acids from processed vegetable oils. This imbalance created a pro-inflammatory state in their bodies, essentially accelerating the aging process from the inside out. After 3 months of strategically increasing their omega-3 intake, both experienced remarkable changes. Margaret's joint pain decreased significantly, allowing her to reduce her pain medication. Robert noticed improved memory recall, and his cardiologist was surprised by improvements in his cardiovascular markers. "I thought these problems were just part of getting older," Margaret told me. "I never imagined that changing the types of fat in my diet could make such a difference." The science behind this is fascinating. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, serve as the raw materials for producing anti-inflammatory compounds in your body. When these fatty acids are deficient, as they are in nearly 70% of adults over 65, your body's ability to control inflammation is severely compromised. Even more concerning, your brain is approximately 60% fat, with DHA being one of its main structural components. Without sufficient DHA, brain cells can't communicate effectively, leading to cognitive decline that many mistake for inevitable aging. Here's how to protect yourself from this aging accelerator. First, have your omega-3 index tested to determine your cellular levels of these critical fatty acids. This test measures the percentage of EPA and DHA in your red blood cell membranes, with an index above 8% being optimal for healthy aging. Second, incorporate fatty fish like wild-caught salmon, sardines, and mackerel into your diet at least 2 to 3 times weekly. If you don't eat fish, consider algae-based omega-3 supplements, which provide the same forms of omega-3s found in fish, EPA, and DHA, without the marine contaminants. Third, reduce consumption of processed foods containing vegetable oils high in omega-6 fatty acids, which compete with omega-3s in your body. This includes most packaged snacks, dressings, and restaurant foods. Fourth, remember that after 65, conversion of plant-based omega-3s, ELA, from sources like flax seeds into the active forms your body needs, EPA and DHA, becomes increasingly inefficient. For this reason, direct sources of EPA and DHA become even more important with age. By restoring the proper balance of these essential fatty acids, you can help reduce the invisible inflammation that accelerates aging throughout your entire body. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's discover our 5th critical deficiency. The 5th nutrition deficiency that dramatically speeds up aging after 65 is potassium, a mineral that's absolutely essential for heart health, muscle function, and blood pressure regulation. Yet remarkably, nearly 90% of Americans over 65 don't get enough of it, often with devastating consequences to their health and longevity. At 73, my brother Richard had been taking 3 different blood pressure medications, yet his numbers remained stubbornly high. His doctor kept increasing the dosages, leading to side effects like dizziness, fatigue, and frequent urination. What neither of them considered was that his blood pressure might be difficult to control because of a simple potassium deficiency. When Richard finally consulted with a geriatric specialist who tested his electrolyte levels, the results were revealing. His potassium was significantly below optimal levels. The irony: one of his blood pressure medications was a diuretic that was actually depleting his potassium further, creating a vicious cycle that accelerated his cardiovascular aging. The connection between potassium and aging is profound. Without adequate potassium, your heart muscle can't function properly, your blood vessels lose elasticity, and your kidneys struggle to filter waste efficiently. Even mild deficiency forces your body to work much harder to perform these basic functions, essentially wearing out your cardiovascular system years before it's time. Consider the case of Barbara and James, both 78, who had remarkably different health outcomes despite similar medical histories. Barbara consumed a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and legumes, all excellent sources of potassium. James followed what he considered a heart-healthy diet that was actually low in potassium. Though both had been diagnosed with high blood pressure in their 60s, Barbara's remained well controlled with minimal medication, while James required increasingly intensive drug therapy and eventually suffered stroke. The difference: Barbara's potassium-rich diet was protecting her blood vessels and supporting her heart function, effectively slowing her cardiovascular aging. Here's what makes potassium deficiency particularly dangerous for adults over 65. The very medications often prescribed for heart health, diuretics, certain blood pressure drugs, and even over-the-counter pain relievers, can further deplete potassium levels. This creates an accelerating cycle of aging where treatment for one condition may actually worsen another. Here's how to protect yourself. First, Ask your doctor to check your potassium levels, particularly if you're taking any heart or blood pressure medications. Don't accept normal as an answer. Request the actual number and aim for levels in the upper half of the normal range. Second, increase your consumption of potassium-rich foods like avocados, sweet potatoes, bananas, spinach, beans, and yogurt. A medium-sized baked potato with skin provides more potassium than a banana and serves as an excellent base for a nutrient-dense meal. Third, be aware that many salt substitutes contain potassium chloride and can be helpful for those who are not on certain medications like potassium-sparing diuretics or ACE inhibitors. However, always consult your doctor before using these products, as too much potassium can also be dangerous for those with kidney issues. Fourth, stay properly hydrated, as dehydration can further disrupt your electrolyte balance and exacerbate potassium deficiency. Many seniors reduce their fluid intake due to concerns about nighttime urination, creating an additional risk factor. By maintaining optimal potassium levels, you can help preserve your cardiovascular system, maintain healthy blood pressure, and significantly slow the aging of your heart and blood vessels, often reducing dependence on medications in the process. The sixth critical deficiency that accelerates aging after 65 is one that surprises many people: protein. While we don't typically think of protein as a nutrient deficiency, inadequate protein intake is epidemic among seniors and has devastating consequences for muscle maintenance, immune function, and overall resilience. At 75, I noticed I was becoming increasingly frail despite maintaining what I thought was a reasonably good diet. Simple activities like getting up from a chair or carrying groceries had become more difficult. My doctor casually mentioned this was sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, and suggested it was a normal part of aging. What he didn't mention was that much of this muscle loss was preventable with proper protein intake. The truth is, after 65, our bodies become less efficient at processing protein, a phenomenon scientists call anabolic resistance. Research shows that seniors need significantly more protein than younger adults to maintain the same level of muscle synthesis, up to 50% more. Yet paradoxically, this is exactly when most seniors reduce their protein intake due to decreased appetite, dental issues, or budget constraints. Consider Howard and Ellen, both 77, who I met at a community health workshop. Howard had always been active but found himself becoming increasingly weak despite light exercise. Ellen, on the other hand, maintained remarkable strength and mobility for her age. The key difference: Ellen consciously increased her protein intake as she aged, consuming protein-rich foods at every meal. Howard, like many seniors, had gradually reduced his meat consumption and often had toast or cereal for breakfast and soup for lunch, meals providing minimal protein. After 3 months of strategic protein supplementation, Howard experienced noticeable improvements in strength, energy, and even his immune response. "I thought I was just getting old," he told me, "but I was literally starving my muscles without realizing it." The consequences of inadequate protein extend far beyond muscle weakness. Without sufficient protein, your immune system can't produce enough antibodies to fight infection, your body can't repair tissues efficiently, and even your brain function can suffer as neurotransmitter production declines. Even more concerning, protein malnutrition often creates a dangerous spiral where weakness leads to reduced activity, which further accelerates muscle loss, leading to frailty, falls, and loss of independence, all falsely attributed to just getting old. Here's how to protect yourself from this common aging accelerator. First, aim for 1.0 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, distributed across meals. For a 150-pound senior, that's approximately 70 to 80 grams of protein daily, significantly more than the standard recommendation for younger adults. Second, focus on high-quality protein sources that are easy to digest and contain all essential amino acids. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, lean poultry, fish, and plant-based options like tofu provide excellent protein without excessive calories. Third, include protein at breakfast, the meal most commonly lacking adequate protein among seniors. Instead of toast or cereal, consider eggs, Greek yogurt with nuts, or a protein smoothie to start your day with proper muscle support. Fourth, if chewing is difficult or appetite is reduced, consider high-quality protein supplements specifically formulated for seniors, which often include additional nutrients to support muscle function. By ensuring adequate protein intake, you can significantly slow or even reverse the muscle loss that many mistakenly consider inevitable with age, maintaining your strength, independence, and vitality for years longer than you might expect. The seventh and perhaps most overlooked deficiency that dramatically accelerates aging after 65 is vitamin K2. While you've likely heard of vitamin K for blood clotting, vitamin K2 is its lesser-known form that performs an entirely different and crucial function, directing calcium to your bones and keeping it out of your arteries, where it doesn't belong. At 76, I was shocked when my doctor told me I had developed significant arterial calcification despite having good cholesterol levels and no family history of heart disease. At the same time, I was diagnosed with osteoporosis, seemingly contradictory conditions. My bones lacked calcium, while my arteries had too much. What I didn't know then was that both conditions shared a common cause: vitamin K2 deficiency. This deficiency creates a perfect storm for accelerated aging. Calcium deposits build up in arteries, heart valves, and even soft tissues, while bones become increasingly fragile. It's a devastating combination that can lead to heart disease, stroke, and fractures, all conditions commonly attributed to normal aging rather than a specific nutrient deficiency. Consider Thomas and Helen, both in their early 80s. Thomas suffered a heart attack at 77 despite maintaining normal cholesterol levels and blood pressure. Subsequent testing revealed significant calcification in his coronary arteries. Helen, meanwhile, experienced unexplained fractures despite taking calcium supplements for years. Both were experiencing the consequences of long-term K2 deficiency. Their bodies couldn't properly manage calcium, allowing it to deposit in the wrong places while leaving bones vulnerable. What makes K2 deficiency particularly insidious is that it's nearly universal in Western societies, where traditional K2-rich foods like natto, fermented soybeans, and certain organ meats have disappeared from the diet. Even more concerning, many seniors take calcium supplements without adequate K2, potentially accelerating arterial calcification in an attempt to prevent bone loss, the exact opposite of what they intend. The good news is that correcting K2 deficiency can help slow or even reverse some of this damage. After 6 months of K2 supplementation, my bone density improved slightly while my arterial calcification progression slowed significantly. Thomas and Helen experienced similar benefits, with Thomas's cardiologist noting improved arterial flexibility and Helen's subsequent bone scans showing stabilization of her bone density. Here's how to protect yourself from this aging accelerator. First, if you're taking calcium supplements, always pair them with vitamin K2, preferably the -7 Malawian Quatches form, which remains active in your body longer. The two nutrients work synergistically. Calcium provides the building material for bones, while K2 ensures it's deposited there instead of in your arteries. Second, incorporate K2-rich foods into your diet. While natto contains the highest concentration, aged cheeses like Gouda, Brie, and Edam also provide significant amounts, as do egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens. Third, recognize that certain medications, including blood thinners like warfarin and Coumadin, work by antagonizing vitamin K. If you're on these medications, speak with your doctor about alternatives that don't interfere with vitamin K metabolism or about carefully monitored K2 supplementation. Fourth, remember that vitamin D and K2 work together. Vitamin D helps you absorb calcium from your intestines, while K2 directs it to your bones. This partnership makes it essential to maintain adequate levels of both nutrients for healthy aging. By addressing vitamin K2 deficiency, you can help protect both your heart and bones simultaneously, potentially avoiding the calcification paradox that affects so many seniors and accelerates the aging process throughout the body. Now, as promised, I want to share one bonus deficiency that affects nearly 90% of adults over 65, choline. This essential nutrient plays a critical role in brain function, particularly memory and cognitive processing. It serves as a precursor to acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter essential for memory formation. Yet most physicians never test for it. As we've discussed these 7 critical deficiencies, vitamin D, B12, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, potassium, protein, and vitamin K2, along with our bonus nutrient choline, you might be wondering if addressing these issues can truly make a difference once you're already in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. The resounding answer is yes. Throughout my late 60s and into my 70s, I watched as friends and family members accepted declining health as just part of getting old. They resigned themselves to increasing medications, decreasing mobility, and diminishing quality of life. Meanwhile, by systematically identifying and correcting these nutritional deficiencies, I experienced what felt like a reversal of aging in many ways. Stronger bones, improved energy, sharper thinking, and a level of vitality I hadn't felt in years. The most powerful realization for me was that what we call aging is often at least partially a collection of nutritional deficiencies masquerading as the inevitable passage of time. While we can't stop the clock, we can certainly slow its effects on our bodies and minds through targeted nutrition. Does this mean you should stop all your medications and replace them with supplements? Absolutely not. These nutrients work best as part of a comprehensive approach to health that includes proper medical care.